I talked on the last podcast a little bit about the Milo Yiannopoulos thing at the Creek, and I listened to some of the episode, and it's funny. He's pretty funny. He's ridiculous. He's a crazy guy. That's his thing. What I then did on the plane to LA is I listened to the podcast he did with Jordan Peterson. And him and Jordan Peterson, and at points it was somewhat contentious because I think Jordan Peterson had said something about him that Milo didn't really like. They didn't really get into that, but Peterson then subsequently apologized to Milo about it. This was when Milo was essentially taken out. If you don't know who Milo is, Milo, who cares? He was a provocateur. He was a tech writer from Breitbart, which was Steve Bannon's media company, which is backed by Rebecca Mercer. They're a father-daughter team. Robert Mercer's a billionaire. He lives in Long Island, New York, where I'm from. Him and his daughter are conservative, and they back Breitbart financially. They pull the strings. They're the money guys behind Breitbart in the same way that I think, the Koch family is behind like Shapiro and the Daily Wire and Turning Point and all that stuff. Behind all of these things, just away on the left, Soros is behind all of these outfits is money. It's big money. And people with an agenda, and they have an interest in certain viewpoints being pushed forward, and then they want certain charismatic people doing that. So the Breitbart faction had Milo Yiannopoulos. He was like their star, and he was going around as this gay guy who was married to a black guy who was a conservative. He became big from Gamergate, which was this pushback against a PC wing of the gaming community that wanted more women in games. I don't even know that I think I'm approximating this to a point where, even if I'm getting a few details wrong, it's generally what happened. And so you had Yiannopoulos basically going online and pushing back against the people that wanted more representation in video games. It became known as Gamergate. And then he went out and he got popular. He was funny. He was aggressive. He didn't care. He was a troll. He was a master troll. He eventually, ended up going on a college tour in America. There would be all kinds of protests when he showed up. The famous one was at Berkeley. When he went to Berkeley, you had a riot where I think there was over $100,000 worth of damage done to Berkeley. And then eventually he ended up getting deplatformed, kicked off Twitter because a lot of his fans, he was supposedly organizing his fans to go after Leslie Jones. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't care. I'm going to make a bigger point. It's neither here nor there. I'm not a guy for deplatforming people. And anybody who listens knows that. And that's why I didn't care that Legion had him on or whatever. And I really don't care who has a platform. I think everybody has a platform. And if your arguments and ideas are better, it's your job to make them better. And the other thing is that a guy like Milo Yiannopoulos is relatively easy to diffuse if you're a smart person and you can argue. And by the way, so Donald Trump should have been too. I mean, he also should have been relatively easy to beat, to be honest. But he wasn't, for a lot of reasons. But this shouldn't have been what it was. Like, it shouldn't have been this unbeatable guy that nobody could handle. Literally, towards the end, they just started asking him, what are your policies? What do you want to do? And he had no answers. And that was kind of the way to beat him. But you kept fighting with him. You kept playing his game, and then he won. So Yiannopoulos gets deplatformed off Twitter. He's, they kick him off Patreon. He's kicked off, I think, Facebook. I think he's pretty much, I don't know if it's quite as bad as Gavin McInnes, where it was like he was unpersoned. They remove you from all social media immediately, instantaneously. You lose all your followers, fans, your ability to make a living, whatever. So Milo, whatever, I keep going back and forth on what that is. He made a comment years ago in a publication where he said in the gay world, there is mentorship that happens, and that he was molested by a priest at 15 years old, and he does not view it as a negative thing. And in gay relationships, that is more commonplace than you would imagine. This is what he said. He said some version of that. And then he backtracked a little bit, and he said he was sloppy and he didn't make the point the right way. And I understand what he was saying. First of all, there's never an excuse or an argument to ever have sex with somebody who's underage in any sexuality. I think that's not what he was saying. I think what he was saying is that he personally, as a victim, it didn't ruin his life. It didn't derail him in a meaningful way. And that he viewed it, I think he said there are certain types of relationships in the gay community where a younger guy is being shown the ropes by an older guy because the younger guy can't really go to his parents because his parents are straight and heterosexual. So the older guy will be like, here are the gay clubs. Here's this, here's that, which is all fine and good. But this not at 15. That's not what happens. But I don't think Milo was saying that it should happen. I think he was saying, hey, I was fucked at 15 or molested at 15 or whatever. So the right goes and gets him. The right digs up that article, the Reagan Battalion, who are the people on the right, and they get Milo. They and now it comes out. People are saying, oh, he's pro-pedophilia. Nobody cares about the details, but that's the society that we live in. The comment was an unfortunate comment. He didn't talk about it the right way. And him and Peterson get into it. It's actually a good podcast. But so he's gone. Then he's gone and he spends 2 years essentially in obscurity. He's over. The college tour's over. He's Simon & Schuster, whoever was publishing his book. I'm pretty sure it was Simon & Schuster. They pull out. He's done. He's unable to continue making a living. He's deplatformed off social media. He essentially goes away. And now he's starting to come back. And he's on Jordan Peterson and he's angry. And he said he's going to come back now as a comedian. He's going to come back. He's given up on politics for the most part because he doesn't think the right and the conservatives had his back. But, he said, I'm a once-in-a-generation star. I'm once-in-a-lifetime star. I'm going to come back. I'm going to be much more in the realm of a regular entertainer, somebody like a Johnny Carson. He goes, the right has nobody funny, nobody that can crack a joke. And I filled that hole, and I need to again, but I don't care about politics anymore. I'm just going to be somebody who has his own late night show or whatever. And what you get from the interview is, number one, he's hurt. He's angry. He lost everything in one fell swoop. But what you also get from the interview is that this is a guy who at his baseline wanted to be famous. This is what he wanted to do. This is not somebody who was a political thinker. He didn't care particularly about politics. He accidentally got into it. He was a tech writer. And then once he started creating a lot of controversy, he said, I can ride this wave to fame and to fortune. And the people behind him, and this is why I really want to make this point, the people behind him facilitated that rise. When you see people in the public sphere and they all of a sudden are everywhere, seemingly overnight, it doesn't always happen by accident. It can happen by accident, but in many cases, in most cases, and certainly when you look at politicians, you look at people like Milo Yiannopoulos, people like Candace Owens, people like Charlie Kirk. And if you don't know who Candace is, she's the black conservative who's been on Rogan. And, Charlie Kirk is the guy that runs Turning Point. He's like a younger kid. These people are cast in these roles by billionaire families like the Mercers, like the Kochs. The same way that a lot of the Parkland kids were cast in those roles by interests on the left wing. How many kids graduated from Parkland? We know what? 8 of them?
Yeah.
Who are the rest of them? Where are they? And by the way, I always wonder if a school shooting happened in Long Island. Some of these kids are pretty fucking eloquent. Mm-hmm. They're pretty smart. They're pretty presentable. They're hip. Emma Gonzalez is bisexual. Latinx. David Hawk. I mean, if you shut up my Long Island school and these fucking billionaire families were going around trying to find spokesmen, God help you. God fucking help you if you stumbled upon me or my fucking friend. Yo, the shooting was wrong, but sometimes people need to get fucked up. But I get it. Shooting people in the face is not good. Shoot them in the leg. There would be not a soul that I went to school with who would rise to that occasion. It would just be they would have to sift through Long Island trash for an hour of just okay, let's bring in Tracy. Tracy, how do you feel about what happened? Yo, I was really scared, but the reality of the situation is this. I don't really give a fuck because I'm focusing on myself And I'm focusing on, I really want to do cosmetics. This is something I've always believed in. And the reality is my mother is like, you should stop drinking and you should raise your daughter. And I tell her, I'm like, I can do both. So what I need to do is, I don't really care about the fucking shootings and shit. I don't think you should ban guns. I think maybe I should have a gun, quite frankly. You know, if you need, go get a potato and put a Marlboro Light in its mouth and watch that and then press play on your phone.